Hey guys, it's Matt, and I'm here with Mark.
Hey, how you doing, man?
How you doing? And we're going to be taking you through some of the import games on Wii because there are no chip systems out there, meaning you've got to buy that system if you want it. So join us as we take you through some of the games out there and ultimately decide whether or not you really want to pick this system up or not.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge investment. I mean, $250 for a new system, and if you like Nintendo Wii, it probably means you've already bought one. So each of the games, I mean, you're importing them, they're about $50 to $60, and $250 up front. That's a lot of money you put into it.
Yeah, and also, I mean, what we've sort of found is that in going through this little feature, a lot of the games we thought were exclusive to Japan, in fact, are not. They're coming over to the U.S.
Right.
At a really quick rate, actually. And really, what you're going to be getting this thing for, if you really want these Japanese games, mostly is for the Virtual Console. So let's go into it. And our first game on the list here is going to be Pokemon Battle Revolution, which I think is probably the one game a lot of people really want. I don't know about you, Mark, but a lot of our fans are huge Pokemon nuts.
Right. I mean, you know, to kick things off, we're getting that game in America. It's going to come out. It's going to be just like how it is in Japan right now. You use the Nintendo DS, connect it, you can bring all your Pokemon up, and then you can play online versus people, which I think is really where the appeal is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
we should note. Don't mean to cut you off.
No.
But this game, like most Nintendo games, is going to be using a friend code-based system. So in case you're wondering whether or not you're going to be using your Wii system number to connect with friends, it doesn't look like that's going to be happening. And we apologize for Nintendo because we know that they will not apologize.
Right. Yep. That's actually what I was going to say. You need not only your friend code for DS, you're also going to need your Wii friend code. So it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it is where the initial appeal is, and it's going to be one of the first online games for Nintendo.
It will be, and I think what you're going to find, what we found with the Japanese import, is it is a bit slow going getting online. It's a bit clunky as well. So if you're looking for this to be the sort of savior for the online experience on Wii, I think you're going to be a bit disappointed. That said, it does deliver a pretty tight-on, sort of Pokemon experience, your traditional battle scenarios, if that's what you're into.
Yeah, it feels great. You can import characters, or they also have presets where originally when you start out in the game, you've got just one guy to pick from, but as you start playing through the Pokemon League, you can get other guys unlocked. And they've got basically preset Pokemon. You can go in and play the game even if you don't have the DS version, but essentially it is like what Pokemon Stadium was on 64, which I know you had a ton of time with.
Yeah.
It's a game where you transfer characters up. You play basically what you're playing on DS, but you're going to play it on Wii instead.
And the big difference, I think, for a lot of people, you're going to see that actually the visuals have been pretty well enhanced. Mm-hmm. It's got a nice, crisp, clean look. Particles are really sort of advanced, and lighting effects look good. So it looks sort of very un-Wii-esque to me right now, because you've seen a lot of first wave games are kind of very GameCube-like. This looks a bit of, I'd say, a cut above.
Right. What else do we have on the system? I mean, aside from games like Pokemon Battle Revolution, where we know they're coming out, what kind of games do we have on Wii that people aren't going to get unless they're in Japan or getting a Japanese system?
Well, there are a lot of crazy, zany Japanese games, which we have a list of, and let's just see if we can get the Japanese right. First up, we've got Nichi no Tatsujin, which is basically a translation meaning Master of Festivals, or Festival Master, if that's what you want to call it. And you've been playing around with this game. What do you think of it?
I have. I would honestly say, as far as my import dollars go, there's far better games out there. Master of Festivals is kind of a game where you're going to go in and you can basically walk around in this kind of virtual festival. It's all 2D, really simple. You get into each of the games, and there are little tasks in each one. And as you play through them, there are different challenges you can do within each task. So it's really not that huge of a game. It's kind of like WarioWare, but the games last a little bit longer, have a little bit more replay value. But it's all things we've seen, like there's one where you're making funnel cakes, like in Cooking Mama. There's one that's basically a shooter game where you're shooting at stuff on the screen. We've seen it 1,000 times. It really isn't that great of a game to import.
It's very Japanesey, it really is, and it's I'd say unrefined in terms of using the Wii remote. Very simple stuff. It's not going to hold your attention for too long, and that's what I gathered in playing it. Next up, you've got Tamagotchi no Pika Pika, which basically means Tamagotchi. They're going to translate. They're bringing this to the U.S., believe it or not. It's going to be called Tamagotchi Party On. Is that right?
Tamagotchi Party On!
Party On, Mark?
That's right.
Yeah, Party On. All
Party
right,
On.
So, anyway.
Party On, Castle.
Yeah, so they are bringing that over, and it's basically, again, it's going to be kind of Mario Party-esque, and except with Tamagotchi. So you're traversing this game board, and you're taking part in these mini games. But then you've got this crazy Tamagotchi screen that pops up and simulates your classic Tamagotchi. And it seems a bit out of place to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a stretch. I mean, the game has got a really cool style to it. It's almost like WarioWare, where it's got like really flat, really comic book, cartoony look to it, which is kind of cool. And it plays a lot like Mario Party, a little bit more dumbed down. Basically, they tell you where all the stars are essentially on the map. They're crowns in this game, but they tell you where they are. So there's really no way you can screw up. You basically follow a set path. And aside from that, you play all these mini games. Most of them are actually one player, and a lot of them make use of an on-screen thing that looks like Tamagotchi, like the $15 toy you'd buy in the store anyways. So it's like you're buying a $50 to $60 game, depending on if you import or not.
Yeah.
and you're getting a $15 toy and some Mario Party stuff, but we're gonna end up getting Mario Party before we get this game anyway.
Yeah, that's true, and yeah, it's it's Tamagotchi. So if you're really a diehard Tamagotchi fan, and I guess there must be some people who are.
Right, we're talking to both of you if there are.
Yeah, both of you guys. So you might want to look into it, but honestly, you're gonna have to buy a Wii just to get this game early. You can wait for it and get it in the US in a couple months.
Right.
And then lastly, in terms of the purely sort of crazy Japanese zany games, you've got Crayon
Shinchan.
no Shinchan, right?
Yep.
And that is based on this Japanese anime, this quirky Japanese anime. It's been popular for years, and it's sort of a kind of the Bart Simpson of Japan, I guess you could say, except the key difference, Mark, if you'd like to bring this up.
Yeah, I will. You can flash your butt and your dong in the show. It's all about
dong is
it's all
maybe
about,
not the word I would have used.
Well,
but
private's exposure. There's plenty of it in the show, and from the looks of it, there's a good amount of it in the game. The title screen actually starts out with him jumping around, and then he kind of goes off screen, and when he comes back, his pants are at his ankles.
You see his fanny.
I mean, it's not vulgar. It's poking fun at like vulgar subjects, so it's not really that bad, but it is a little risque, and it's definitely something that Japanese audience maybe a little more used to than American importers will be.
This one, we just don't know what's going to happen with this. I don't think you're going to see it in the U.S. honestly, because it is so crazily Japanese. It's once again a series of mini games, and then beyond that, it's just wild, I don't think too many Western audiences can appreciate it.
Right, and the odd thing about that one, man, playing this game, I sat down and played probably 2 hours of it straight, and the oddest thing about the game is there's so much talking in it. It's all text reading. There's a few key phrases that he says over and over again. He's got a lot of play on words, like language jokes. But there's so much talking in this game. Compared to WarioWare, where you can play 300 games in a few minutes. Yeah. It's it's so slow, and really, it's not a good import choice.
Right.
On the other hand, there are games like Bleach Wii. They're definitely better.
Yeah, but I think that one probably will. I don't think it's been announced officially, but I have a feeling it will be coming to the U.S.
I'm hoping Sega brings it.
Yeah,
hoping they bring it.
I mean, it's an interesting fighter because they're sort of making you rely on the Wii control. So you're using the analog stick, right, to maneuver these characters around, but then you're executing your moves with a series of gestures, up, down, left, and right, horizontally.
Right.
And you have to be quick about it. I was watching you play, and it was sort of insane.
Yeah, you have to be very fast. Hopefully, the good thing about it, though, is there's actually a stamina meter in the game. So you can't sit there and just flail around like an idiot and beat your friend at it. You have to be actually, pretty strategic in it. You do some moves, you back away, you maybe dash around the character, and you can actually power up based on the different buttons you hold, where your swipe moves, either horizontal, vertical, or stabbing, turn into bigger, more extravagant moves. So there's definitely more strategy in it than I thought originally, but it is a lot of, you walk by and somebody's just sitting there flailing like crazy, and that's how you play the game. So
it's interesting, I think the characters are kind of cool, and I like the quasi-cell shaded style, but in terms of fighters, I think there are fighters that are deeper and prettier that are going to be coming or are already out there.
Yeah,
so.
It has a decent cast, and the episode mode is pretty cool. The arcade mode's pretty cool, and there's a lot of English in the game. Yeah. So just like the first DS one, if you're big on Bleach, there is a lot of English in the game. Basically, you can play it just like you're playing an American game. But hopefully we'll get it in America and it won't be an issue.
Hopefully. Speaking of games coming to the U.S., Necronesia. It's basically a survival horror-esque game where you run around foggy environments with a wooden stick and beat on bugs. And I know I'm selling it to you now, aren't I? But that's coming to the U.S. and it's called, believe it or not, Escape from Bug Island, and it's coming from IDOS.
It's a beautiful name.
So we're just going to quickly run this one over in the video. You can see some footage here, but basically you can look forward to in a couple of months. Don't import the system for this game, and in fact, you may want to avoid the U.S. version as well, but we'll give you a more concrete review before the time comes.
Yeah, there's definitely hits and misses in the game, but it is absolutely a first-generation survival horror game on Wii.
It's not Resident Evil on Wii either, so
no, not
keep waiting. And then beyond that, you've got Kororimpa and Wing Island. Both we're sort of lumping them together in the same package because they're from the same publishers, and so they're coming to the U.S. very soon as well. So don't import the system for that either. And beyond that, we've got SD Gundam, right?
Yep.
And no announcement yet for the US version of this, but you played a lot of it, so go ahead.
Yeah, SD Gundam is kind of on that same lines like Bleach, where it's actually a really cool game, and I guess if you're an import fanatic, maybe you're going to get it already for virtual console games. SD Gundam's actually a good one to look at. You don't need to know a lot about the text in the game. There is some story to it, but basically it's part of this whole super deformed Gundam world, and you run around with like a ball and chain attached to this little pretty cute looking Gundam guy. and you just run around and beat the crap out of everything with the ball and chain.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a bit of Custom Robo in a way, you know, except it's not just contained arenas. You're actually going from different rooms and upper levels and lower levels,
right?
And just sort of fighting over and over again. But it does have that kind of arena-based fighting action going on. There's
some cool level ups. It's got some awesome bosses from the Gundam world, and it's a pretty fun game. I mean, it's very shallow, but it's really fun on Wii. It's got a really cool feel to it.
I actually like
I hope it does come to America.
the cel-shaded look too, so it's not bad. Right. Next up, we need to talk about quickly some of the Virtual Console games, because that's really one of the big reasons, as far as I'm concerned, to import. And even then,
dude, I thought import games don't work on your.
Yeah, we heard that, right? There's a big internet rumor that you cannot play any Virtual Console games on a Japanese system if you live in America, or if you don't live in Japan, I should say. But in fact, we got it working today, and we downloaded a handful of games. They all work just fine, so let's put that rumor to the rest.
Yeah, Donkey Kong Country, Shinobi, and Kid Icarus, we plopped in right away.
Yeah, those are some fine games, by the way. We're missing out on those in the US. So, I mean, you can be playing, if you live in Japan, Kid Icarus right now, which is a classic, and it's perfectly emulated. You can be playing Shinobi, which is another classic, and then, of course, Donkey Kong Country. I mean, games like this, right now anyway, you can only find in Japan, and that's a big selling point as far as I'm concerned.
Especially when people are talking about how they want games like Sin and Punishment, you know, Treasure's kind of unshown game in America here that was for N64.
Yeah.
We don't know if we're going to get it. It was kind of leaked in originally, you know, as maybe an English game, but we don't know if we're going to get it, and it's an awesome game. So if you have no way of playing those other games, it may be worth it, you know, for retro fanatics out there, simply to import a Wii system just for Virtual Console games.
Just for them, maybe. So it might actually be worth it, but I don't know. It's a lot of money just to get some Virtual Console games that will probably come to America anyway.
Definitely a ton of cash, and we don't encourage it, but you know, it's tough to justify that much when you know ROMs are floating around online.
One thing I do want to note, though, is you can actually use your Visa card or your MasterCard to buy these Japanese games, so have no fear about that. And overall, you know, looking at the lineup and looking at the Virtual Console games, yes, the Virtual Console lineup is sweet. So far, the list of imports we've seen, kind of all right. You know, a couple of them are good, but they're coming to the U.S., most of those.
No, there are a few solid games, and aside from that, there's no huge appeal. I'm a huge import nut. I love it for DS because it's region, you know, it's not region locked. You can play whatever you want, and I love it. But to justify $250 straight up, you know, they haven't convinced me personally.
Yeah, you know, and no, I don't think it's worth the money. I would say just hold off, you know, and the big games, including stuff like Wii Play, it's all on the way. So, yeah.
I say stick it out, get some Virtual Console games, maybe brush up on some old GameCube titles, and we got more titles coming, you know, in America pretty soon anyway, so
keep your money, wait it out.
Yeah, save it up. It's going to be a huge year. Save your cash.
Okay, thanks.
Cool, thanks a lot.